Hey everybody, welcome to Hood Stories with me, your host, Big Joe, on the Loaded News Channel. Today I'm blessed to be with Dino. Dino is from the Mob Crew, East Side, from the Aliso Village Projects. He's got a powerful story today. We're going to talk to Dino. Dino, how you doing? Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you give everybody your name and your street name.
Well, as a breakdancer, before we started my hood, they used to call me Kid Spider. And then when we started my neighborhood, it was Sneaky. A lot of people right now just know me as Dino. Yeah, from Eastside TMC, the Mob Crew.
All right, where is that located exactly?
It's in Boyle Heights off of 1st Street in Gless, in the Aliso Village housing projects. Yeah.
Oh, pretty famous out there for the LA area.
Yeah.
The Aliso Village Projects, those are knocked down, right? They tore down the original
Yeah, they tore
ones?
them down, I think, in '99, man. Yeah,
Okay.
they redid some newer projects, you know. But
Yeah, you grew up right there in the project?
since I was 4 years old, yeah.
So tell me your story of growing up there.
Yeah, well, as a kid, I didn't have a dad really active in my life. You know, he came around once in a while, but not really active. It was just my mom who took care of us, and it was me, my brother, and my sister only at the time. And growing up in the projects, you grew up, you know, with everybody in the neighborhood, because you had like 3 different parts of the project, 4 different parts of the project. So, you know, we grew up with everybody. You know, black people, you know, Vietnamese, and some whites, very little, but you know, all races. So at the time we weren't, you know, we didn't look at any color at the time, but you know, we grew up together as one, and you know, in time, you know, we start seeing stuff that was going on that was really normal to us that may be different for others, you know, but it was just part of living in the projects, you know.
Yeah. So growing up in the projects, like no matter what color you were part of like the projects clique. So everybody was like family, right?
Oh yeah, like, you know, you needed milk for somebody, you go to the neighbor's house and get it, or even like in the mornings, if we like Saturday mornings, if I didn't have, you know, breakfast to eat because we were really poor, I would go to my neighbor's house, one of my good friends, and go eat cereal, watch cartoons with them. So everybody had their doors open to you.
How did your clique, the East Side Mob Crew, how did that get started?
Well, I was one of the founders, and we started off because you know, breakdancing started coming in, and I got real involved in breakdancing and popping, all that stuff, and that's why it was called the Mob Crew, because you know, it was a breakdancing crew. But you know, in time, you know, we started going and challenging other breakdancing crews, but you know, in time we started getting in fights, and it just evolved into a gang, you know, and really we didn't really see it as a gang, because you know, we grew up with each other. So you know, it just evolved, and you know, things started happening where we had to start defending ourselves. And
yeah, so it went from breakdancing and just being like an innocent like pastime to becoming, you know, to being like a clique, a gang, right?
Yeah, lost a lot of friends, man. A lot of friends that I miss today, and you know, I would sometimes think like, what if we didn't create this gang? What would have happened? Would they still be alive?
Yeah. Like you saying that you grew up and you guys didn't have like a lot of money, like, and you guys were poor. Is that what got you started, like in the drug trade?
That was just part of life in the projects, you know. And I mean, either you did it or you didn't, and you learn to be a survivor in the projects, no matter what, you know. And if you wanted a fresh pair of shoes, you know, your mom couldn't really afford it. You know, we had no other outlet, you know. My choice was to start drug dealing. I did it for a lot of years, and so did a lot of homies, and we became a strong force when it came to that lifestyle.
What age would you say that you remember that you guys officially became a gang?
I think unofficially, even when we just started breakdancing,
yeah,
we were already a tight unit, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, when maybe I want to say a year later, 15, 16 years old. No, not even, like, I'm thinking like 15 years old.
Okay.
It kind of like immediately started happening, where people wanting to go against us and fight with us, and it was already there. We're project babies, so you know, it was always, you know, we had that mentality of violence already just growing up. You woke up in the morning, and first thing you see is a helicopter, or you know, cops covering up something, and you know, you just wake up to this stuff. So it was all natural to us. So I think maybe a year after we started the breakdancing crew, it was already cracking, you know.
Growing up in the barrio, the projects, you know, like the things that are cemented in our minds, are more like in the negative or the traumatizing that causes the PTSD for a lot of homeboys, you know.
Yeah, it was a couple murders that I witnessed, you know, and it changed me, you know. This was maybe late 80s, early 90s. We had a good friend of ours from a different neighborhood that was alongside of us at the time. They were clicked up with us too. He was like one of the main guys from that neighborhood, and he had happened to get arrested for something. I don't know what it was, but we all got our money together and we bailed him out because it was his birthday. So we decided to all get together and let's jump in the cars and let's go cruising to Lake and Pico. Let's go meet some girls or do whatever it is we were gonna do, you know. And we went pretty deep. It was a good 15, 16 of us and a couple carloads, and he was in my car. Keep in mind, we were all heated, you know. We were always heated, protected, you know.
Yeah.
So in order to leave the projects, you gotta leave up a hill. Wherever you go, you gotta leave, you know.
Yeah.
So we ended up going up the hill to go gas up and put gas in the car and stuff, and sure enough, I don't know how or what, but enemies must have saw us, and a big gunfight just erupted at the gas station. It was huge, where it lasted a long time, and when all the smoke cleared and everything, we were like, hey, anybody hit? And sure enough, you know, the guy that got bailed out of jail, he was down. He had got shot on the side somewhere, and there was really not much blood coming out, you know, because I guess he was bleeding internally. And yeah, we tried to get him in the car and put my hand there also to try to, you know, stop the bleeding, and you know, but he didn't make it.
Oh, he wound up passing.
He ended up passing away, man. Yeah. We should have not bailed him out, because, you know, but who knows what was in store for his life, you know.
Yeah, that's why I figure God has a plan for us all, and our numbers up, you know what I mean, whether it was that day in the car or maybe it would have been in the jail, you know, who knows, you know. But
yeah, you know, we don't know. And you know, for a long time I felt real guilty about that, you know, for even like having him in my car, first of all. But you know, I know it wasn't my fault, you know, you know, it happened, you know. And you know, a lot of bad stuff, you know.
Yeah, out of all the people that were there, he was the only one that got shot, right? You were saying
the only one
that wound up passing. Yeah,
passing away.
Yeah, so there's a lot of heartache, a lot of like, no wonder like a lot of people suffer from PTSD in the neighborhoods. You know what I mean? It's not just military, because if you really think about like the lives that we used to live, it was like we lived in the military.
It was the battleground.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, and I suffer from that. You know, I have a lot of like nightmares, and I could be totally honest with you. You know, before I met, you know, this person in my life, my girl, I've had these nightmares for years and years, and waking up screaming and sweating and always constantly, like, even in like when I'm aware of things, I'm driving and I'm looking, and there could be an old man next to me, a harmless old man, and in my mind, the way my mind thinks is like, man, is he gonna shoot me? Like, I'm thinking this guy wants to shoot me, you know, because I've always lived that life of having to, you know, watch my back, and when I look, this man's not even looking at me. It's like it's all in my mind. It's because of everything that I went through, and waking up shaking and talking in my sleep. But you know what? Since I started following God, and it's got less and less. I know that I shouldn't fear anything anymore because I have Him in my life, you know.
You know, you're down for your neighborhood, you're down for your homies, but in the end of the story, the biggest victims are your parents, you know what I mean, your loved ones that love you. Or if you die, you know what I mean, they're the ones carrying your casket, they're the ones missing you.
And it's painful. Like, I lost my best friend, you know, Sal Green Eyes, and you know, he got into a little scuffle with somebody, and this guy was a knockout artist. My friend Sal, he hit you once, you're going down. And his mistake was turning his back to this guy, and this guy went behind him, which was like a wrestling coach or some sort. They were actually partying together for his birthday, and when they went to go buy more beer, and got in a little argument, and you know, Greenie knocked him out. Greenie grabbed his stuff and walked away, and guy went behind him and broke his neck. So Greenie lasted for, you know, a good 3 weeks, but his body started shutting down, and I got the phone call to come, Dino, maybe he'll talk to you, come. The mom called me, and I got to the hospital as quick as possible, and it's like if he waited for me, you know, because he ended up being paralyzed, and I held his hand, and as soon as I held his hand, I'm looking at him, I'm like crying, like,
Yeah.
like don't die, man. Like, I love you, Greenie. Like, I got an apartment and I'm gonna take care of you on the first floor. Don't die. And like, he felt me, because like just one tear came down. And I could feel, I don't know how to explain it, but I could feel his spirit leaving his body. And he died.
Yeah.
He was my best friend, man. Like a homie in the hood. We went through a lot of stuff together, and I lost him to this, and it was hard, man. It's hard to lose all these homies that we grew up with as kids, and even, you know, guys that were our enemies. We grew up with, you know, as kids playing with them, and end up at, you know, sworn enemies that
Yeah.
we're gonna kill each other, you know, and it happened.
I want to say, you know, rest in peace to Greenie, you know, and man, what you're seeing right now here is a true man, to be able to shed a tear for his brother, you know what I mean, that he grew up with, because it takes a true man to be able to express his feelings. People say, well, you got to be macho, you can't shed a tear, you got to always be strong, and you know, that's just part of that world that's fake, you know what I mean, because when you have a heart and you feel love for somebody and they're gone, or they're about to pass, or like the experience you went through, and you shed a tears because you had that true love for that person.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that, you know what I mean, because I felt that before too.
Yeah, and
So,
sometimes
yeah.
like holding all that anger in, and because I know that as a kid I was always angry, you know, and I know where it stems from, you know, but I was always angry, and I was always the small guy, so I was always picked on, and I always thought I had to be the one. I had
Yeah.
to prove myself, you know. It was harder for me, you know, because I had to prove myself, and you know, I was never a great fighter, you know, but you know, I wasn't afraid to do other things, you know, and I think, you know, me being so angry as a kid and growing up and holding all these emotions in, and it made it worse, because my heart, it turned black. Like I couldn't feel, like, and all this death, and it just made me so cold that I did not care. I know that I could feel it,
Yeah, and I can
And
see
I'm not-
it,
and
and
I'm
I
not-
can see it right here, man.
and I'm not afraid to say it. You know, this doesn't make me any lesser than a man. You know, I'm a man, and I'm a man of God, and that's what that makes me even stronger now. You know.
To me, that's more real, that's more raw than anything, than any vato that's out there like all hard and posted up against the wall carrying a cuete or whatever. Like, this is real.
There was no hesitation on anything that we had to do. It was either
Yeah.
be killed or get killed, or
Yeah.
it was just survival, you know. And like I said, opening up the door in the projects, we were a product of our environment. This is what we knew. This is how we lived. Man, nothing else mattered. We didn't know there was another life out there.
Yeah,
You know?
outside those blocks, huh?
Yeah, we lived in a hole, you know. We
Yeah.
were called the kids from down there, and these were teachers talking about us, calling us the kids from down there. Like, dude, like, what do you mean the kids from down there? We didn't understand, but now we think about it, you know.
Yeah. What got you started into dealings?
Cadillacs, money, jewelry, and this is what got me wanting that lifestyle. And I didn't have all that, but you know, a lot of the homies did, you know, and that was just part of the lifestyle of living that gangster life, and wanting people to know who you were. This is this is Sneaky right here, and this is how I'm gonna go out.
You wanted to, like that Tony Montana, go out in the
Oh,
blaze
yeah.
of glory. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've always wanted that power, like you said, like Scarface. Like,
Yeah.
to me, if you owe me $10, I'm coming to get it. It wasn't about the money, it was about the power. It was about the principles
principle,
about
yeah.
it, or whatever it was that was gonna make people embed my name in their mind and never forget me. Now that I got the Lord in my heart, I know now that was all lies and illusions.
Yeah, because I think at the end of the story, like, there really are no really like hood legends, you know what I mean, that people really remember or they light candles for these days, you know what I mean? And so yeah, it would have been a loss to lose you out there on the streets, you know. So what led you like to be at the point where you're saying, I'm not gonna do this drug game no more?
So when I got when I was gonna go to court, this was in 2015 to get sentenced. I still was, battling my issues with selling drugs and all this stuff. And that night that I was gonna go to court, I made that choice. That was it. The last stuff that I had, I was gonna get rid of it. Whatever happens to me in court the next day, that was the day that I said, you know what, I'm gonna follow you, Lord, no matter what. Well, no matter what happens tomorrow in court, this is gonna be my path now. It's gonna be with you. I was facing a good 10 or 15 years. My attorney was like, don't expect nothing less than 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
The murder I was arrested for, the attempted murder, the year later, I already had accepted it. I went to court and I got to read my statement to the judge, and I had letters from Father Greg, my friend Celeste Freeman. She was a reporter for the Times. A lot of people wrote letters for me because they knew that my changes were already happening and people could see it. I read the statement to the judge, and the judge like telling the DA and everybody in the court, like, how are we going to put this man back into prison and corrupt him again? After the judge made her statement about not wanting me to go to prison, she asked the DA, do you have any further statements against Mr. Aguilar? He did not stand up. Mr. Aguilar, this is what we're going to do. We're going to give you 14 months of house arrest. You're going to have to do all these hours of community service. My attorney was like in awe. Everybody could not believe that I didn't get any time. I knew then that was God, and that's where my faith went up the roof.
What's next for Dino?
I want to reach out to different lifestyles, whether you're black, white, Oriental, whatever. To me, that doesn't matter. It's a matter of how I can serve the Lord better and how I can be better. I'm still learning myself.
Yeah.
I fall short sometimes, and I ask him for forgiveness all the time, every day. Be the mouthpiece for God. And I want to be strong like my daughter Jasmine. She's walking with the Lord, and that was just because she wanted to.
Like on the music scene, what do you got coming next?
This is the lyrics to the song, The Beginning. It's called The Beginning, that I wrote a couple of weeks ago, and this is a Christian song that I'm going to be filming. It's part of my testimony. So I'm going to read it as a poem and not rap it. Now it's a new day. My vision's getting clearer and clearer. I feel the change in my soul, a new man in the mirror. I drop down to my knees. Lord, no, this isn't a fake. I surrender my life, my soul for you to take. I feel the power of God flowing through my veins, releasing all of my stresses and all this horrible pains. And I can feel it now. It's like my heart was unfrozen. I'm a child of God. It's not a fluke I was chosen. So now I gear up with the armor of God. My belt of truth on my waist. This is not a facade.